Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. This is our second day of Podmas, where we're putting out an episode every day in the lead up to Christmas this year. So you're hearing my voice for the second day in a row. How exciting. Today we are going to look at Netflix 270th film from 2020. It's the drama All Together Now. Directed by Brett Haley, it stars Auli'I Cravalho, Justina Machado, Fred Armisen, Carol Burnett, Judy Reyes, Taylor Richardson, Rhenzy Feliz, Gerald, Isaac Waters, and Anthony Jacques. I'm Jesse. I'm here solo. Apologies for the pronunciations of the names. I really struggle with our voice of Moana. Apologies straight up on the bat, and I'll try not to say the name again. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're keen on checking this film out. As always, if you haven't seen this one and you're interested in finding out this film, watching it, experiencing it, give us a pause. Come back a little bit later on because I'm going to spoil it throughout this film. It's going to be hard to talk about this one without spoiling it, I guess. So we do kick the show off with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one, it's about a homeless teenager who has to overcome more tragedies than any human has ever faced. That's a big assumption by me, my Fast Flicks, but the tragedies and the obstacles that this teenager has to face are pretty extraordinary in this film, so we'll probably touch on that at various stages. We'd like to talk about how this film ended up on Netflix and the story behind it. So I guess the important thing is that this is actually based on a novel. The novel's called Sorta Like a Rockstar by Matthew Quick. This guy, Matthew Quick, is the author of The Silver Linings Playbook, which has obviously been adapted into a film as well. Was sort of Oscar buzz for a while with Bradley Cooper from memory, Robert De Niro. Jennifer Lawrence was in that as well. This is off the top of my head. And one of our Australian stars, Jackie Weaver from memory, was in that too. So same author as that. This is obviously a different genre. This is very much a teen story. So that's some interesting information. We have to go all the way back to August of 2013, where Fox Searchlight Pictures actually acquired the screen rights to the novel, Sorta Like a Rockstar. They were going to finance the film, and they had Temple Hill Entertainment and Gotham Group producing it, with Laura Sandler and Amanda Harlib writing the film. We then go 3 years later to March of 2016, where it was announced that Miguel Arteta would direct the film, with Ol Parker writing the script. Then we go another year, so this is sort of stuck in a bit of development hell, I guess, because we go to July of 2017, where it was announced that Bryce Dallas Howard was going to then direct the film, with Fox Searchlight Pictures no longer being involved. And then sort of some movement there. There was a bit of a scheduling conflict, and we head to November of 2017, where Netflix acquired the distribution rights to the film. They got Quick, the author of the novel, on board to write the screenplay, and that's where we are today, with Brett Haley directing this film. This had a working title of the novel name, Sorta Like a Rockstar. It's got a very long tagline. The tagline for this one is, "When you're about to lose everything, a little hope can go a long way." So a little bit of a motivational tagline for this one here, I guess. This was released on Netflix on the 28th of August 2020. It was filmed in October of 2019 in and around Portland, Oregon in America. So, that plays a big part in this film, the location as well. Translations around the world in Spanish. This film is called Hope, That Thing with Feathers. Interesting title. Hope plays a very big role in this film too. And we'll probably talk about that in some themes and ideas. In Portuguese and Polish, it was called Almost a Rockstar. That whole idea of a rock star, maybe the novel portrays the character a little bit differently, because I'm not sure that our teen in this is necessarily a rock star. In Hungarian, it's called The Tour Bus of Hope, and that relates to our homeless teen living on a school bus, I guess. In Chinese, it's called The Optimistic Life on a School Bus, and the final one in Vietnamese, it's called Amber Star of Hope, so Amber being our main character, who we'll talk about very soon. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? Rotten Tomatoes sits fresh at 68%. That's on 28 reviews, so a fair few reviews there. The audience a little bit higher at 71%. That's on more than 100 ratings, so quite a few. IMDb, similar sort of vein, 6.5 out of 10 on nearly 5,000 ratings. Letterboxd sits at a 3 out of 5 on nearly 7,000 ratings, being logged by nearly 10,000 though. We've got some stats on Metacritic too. Sits on a 64 out of 100 on 11 critic reviews, so all sitting there around that 6.5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 as well. And then the audience, and that's obviously green, that's on the positive side on Metacritic, and the audience as well, very green, sits on an 8 out of 10 on 15 reviews, so fairly positive consensus on this film. What are my early thoughts for this one? I think this film had so much potential. It's got good performances. It's got a solid setup, but I sort of touched on the tragedies in this film. They just keep coming. There was no holding up on them. And it sort of became a bit too much for me. I mean, to believe that one person could manage and adapt to these situations, I mean, it just became too unbelievable for me. So that's my critique so far of this one. The characters in this film, Amber, I mentioned on her before. She's our main character. She volunteers all her time, doing all sorts of stuff. She teaches migrants English. She works at an old person's home where she builds this connection with this older lady called Joan, and they have some good moments together. You know, she works well at school. She wants to be a singer. She's trying to get the grades and have this audition that's coming up to go to college for singing. And, you know, she also runs this variety show at school. She works part-time in a donut store to try and cover bills. You know, just there's so much going on for this teenager, and I guess her solid grounding in this film is a dog named Bobby, and he's a constant, and probably her coping mechanism to enable her to be so happy. Like, she's got she's very upfront with everyone, and very considerate and very thoughtful and caring, and you know, these are all really nice traits for someone who's going through so much behind the scenes too, because, you know, this dog, it helps her deal with bad things in her life, and part of those bad things, I guess, is that her dad's passed away, and she's homeless, and lives in a school bus with her mum, and her mum's name's Becky, and obviously, you know, she's dealing with these ideas of being a mother without her partner there helping her out. She's homeless, she can't support her daughter. She keeps falling back into this alcohol addiction almost, and has this abusive boyfriend that probably fuels that a little bit. His name's Oliver, and, you know, she's trying to make ends meet by driving the school bus and using it as their house, but unfortunately has to keep going back and depending on Oliver. And, you know, she wants to be a good parent, but it's hard when you don't have the money to do that, or the support mechanisms there as well. And I think she's very self-conscious as a parent too, especially about people judging her, and she just wants the best for her daughter, and we do see that throughout this film too. The only other two people I'll sort of talk about, Ty, I need to talk about, and he's like a very big support for Amber throughout this film. He's Amber's friend, and you know, sets off very early that he's got a crush on her, she's got a crush on him. She's always making him food, and he's always driving because he's the only friend out of all their friends that has a license in a car, I guess. And, you know, he's in the performing arts world too, but he's got stage fright, and Amber's trying to support him through this as well. The other sort of best friend or good friend that Amber has is Ricky. He's this autistic kid of Amber, and his mother, Donna, is also very supportive of Amber too at various stages in this film. So I think, you know, there's good diversity in the friendship group and the friends that are a part of this, but they don't really have bigger roles than just supporting cast, I guess. The director for this one, Brett Haley. So Brett, we've done a podcast on one of his films already on the Netflix catalogue. He directed All the Bright Places, another teen film, so knows how to do these films. Also the film The Hero with Sam Elliott from a couple of years ago, so has a couple of big films under his belt too. All right, let's talk about some scenes. What are some scenes that stood out? What are some things I didn't like? I think, to start off with, there's some good moments. I think Amber, there's a moment where, you know, she has to stay at Donna's house because she realizes her mum's drinking again, back with this boyfriend that she just can't stand. And so they sort of set up this meeting at Donna's house where her mum comes along. And, you know, there's this idea that, you know, she's staying there with Donna until her mum leaves this abusive relationship. Great little performances back and forth about trying to keep things together, and as a mother, the idea of things never being enough. So that was a nice little moment too there, some strong female performances there. The other thing that really stood out for me, I think, was the last scene of this film. We see Amber, everything's worked out for, well, not everything's worked out because she's had some pretty traumatic stuff, but, you know, she's on the right path, the right track. In this last scene, we see Amber goes back to the old people's home to see Joan, and earlier in the film, you know, Joan's this grumpy old woman, and she's like, you know, I'm going to make you cry sort of thing. And Amber's always like, nah, you're not. And then Joan pulls out this photo of Amber on stage with her crying and says, I told you I'd make you cry. It was just a really nice moment that I enjoyed too. What are some things that I didn't like? I think Ricky, I mentioned before, Ricky is Amber's friend. They tried to make him like a stand-up comedian at times, I guess. He did jokes about eggs and dogs. Sorry, didn't land for me. Didn't find them humorous. Ty, the friend, you know, to try and help Amber, he takes her to their family's big holiday house out in the middle of nowhere, and you know, he's got this piano so that Amber can practice her singing, and she sings. And I'm not sure we needed this whole song to prove that in the middle of the film that Amber could sing. I feel like it was a wasted opportunity or a poor placement of a song in the middle of the film. The mum, and this is going to spoiler territory quite a lot here. Becky, she dies in a car accident. So Amber's already lost her mum. Now she already lost her dad. Now she loses her mum. It's just too much. The same with, then we find out that her dog's really sick and has to go to the vet. And it was just like, just pile upon pile of bad stuff for this poor kid. Amber, trying to, we see this transition in the back half of the film of her being angry with the world, which is completely understandable, but she has these arguments and disagreements that just felt a bit unneeded, especially, the guilt. She feels this guilt about her mum's death because she had this argument with her, and Ty's trying to be supportive, and, her line about was like, I went to your holiday house when my mum needed me. It was just laughable because that wasn't, he was doing that to support her in the first place. I think Mr. Franks is the teacher, and his advice to her as a student was something like, use the pain that you're feeling, channel it, put it into a song. That's what an artist does. You're an artist. I just laughed. I thought that was really poor. Amber storms off on Donna for trying to be her mum. A bit icky because Donna was only trying to help, and then at the same time they have the son Ricky there, who we know struggles with social interactions, but he sort of does this line about not understanding what she was saying or not getting it. We didn't, as an audience, we knew what was happening. We didn't need that on the screen. I just felt poor about that. Amber was horrible to Ty again, not just once but twice, and then that variety show at the end. I get it, it's a nice sort of feeling, but they were trying to raise money, and they had these screens like sort of keeping the tally on like this telephone to raise money for Amber, and just the digital screen that they had with the money on there. It's really poorly done. Apologies. What was this film trying to say? What are some themes, some ideas? Obviously, I touched on this before, hope. The idea of hope, especially in times of grief and loss. Sometimes it's really hard to find, but you've got to persevere. You've got to go through. This film does focus on homelessness too, and a lot of stuff about this film is about the high percentage of people in America that are homeless, and it's obviously a big factor in a lot of people's lives, and something that it's nice to see highlighted to make people actually think about those that are less off fortunate than themselves. Good-hearted people too. Amber is a good-hearted person, and she perseveres through and faces tough circumstances. This is a nice message because taking care of people should be a priority in the world, and no matter what, we should be taking care of others. So I think that's a nice thing too. And it's still that idea of tragedies, they don't have to be faced alone. You can use the people around you to support you, because life is precious and you need to enjoy it. You need to roll with it and continue it. And I know that's hard to do at times when there's tough things that are happening, but I think that's a nice little message to take out of it too. All right, what did I take away from this film? I think I'm going to butcher her name again, but Auli'I Cravalho, I think she's great. She does a really good job because it's a tough gig to do. The second half of the film comes and she's got to change from this bright, bubbly character that we've enjoyed, and she does it. So credit to her. Put into the hands of other actors her age, it could have been a disaster. So got to give her credit where credit's due for that too. We have a segment where we say, hey, do we jump on IMDb at all to check anyone out that we saw on screen that we think we may have recognised? For me, I didn't need to, because there were so many recognisable faces in this film that I was just like, I know you from this, I know you from that. And, it was nice just to see these familiar faces. So Becky, the mum, I was like, she's from that Netflix show, that One Day at a Time, this remake of a sitcom that I really enjoyed. The idea, Carol Burnett, you see her on the screen as Joan, just to see her face on the screen, like Carol Burnett's in a Netflix film, and then also Ricky's mum, Carla, from Scrubs. So, Ricky's mum is Carla from Scrubs, which is nice as well. Some nice familiar faces. All right, I'm ready to wrap this up. Let's bring this all together. Give the film a rating out of 5. For me, it's got some good moments, but, there's I've mentioned this before, there's too many traumatic events that sort of bring this down and makes it really unbelievable. So it sort of meant that any sort of emotional connection that I was supposed to feel wasn't there. It wasn't, it wasn't like I was just crying on end with this. I was just like, this, what, again? So not the worst film. I'm giving it 2.5 out of 5. So sits there at 2.5 out of 5. As always, we are on socials. We've got Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We put a question out there for the week with the episode. For this one, just wanted to sort of, in relation to Amber, why is it so hard to accept help from others? I know it's probably a combination of trauma and negativity that surrounds events, and maybe you're not in the mindset to be able to accept help from others. But I think that's a general thing in life, is sometimes, people want to be able to do things on their own. They want to prove themselves, and it's really hard to be like, cool, I actually need help in this situation. I need someone to step in and support me. And even though we're often willing to help others, it's really hard to take that help on ourselves. So I think that's a nice little thought. We're back tomorrow. obviously we're back tomorrow. We're going to get through this Christmas period, but tomorrow we've got another film from 2020. This one is a Spanish thriller called Unknown Origins, or Orígenes Secretos. It's directed by David Gallen Galindo and stars Javier Rey, Veronica Echugu, and Braze F. That's what we've got tomorrow. Intrigued? Interested? Let's give it a crack. Hope you're enjoying this festive season. I'll see you tomorrow.